Well, thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I'll be sharing my time. It's a pleasure for me to speak today on this important third report of the Transport Committee, and it is a report with one recommendation. That recommendation is that the Government of Canada abolish the Canada Infrastructure Bank. And I was actually quite pleased to see that this was a recommendation endorsed by the majority of the committee, and I hope that therefore, as a result of today's debate, this will be concurred in, and we will therefore have a decision by the House to call for the abolition of Canada's Infrastructure Bank. Now this underlines really the reverse Midas touch that this Prime Minister has. Everyone's heard of the Midas touch from the old myth where there was a king who everything he touched turned into gold. Well, that would have been great for his national economy, although it might have led to inflation given the increase in the supply of gold. And what we have with this Prime Minister, though, is a reverse Midas touch. That is, everything he touches turns into complete disaster. It would be of mythical proportions if it wasn't demonstrable in the clear record of this government and this Prime Minister. After 8 years, this Liberal NDP government truly has the Midas touch, although I can guess that from the fact that the majority of the committee endorsed this report, it may have been that even the NDP agreed to this recommendation to abolish the Canada Infrastructure Bank. Et tu, Brute. It's a majority recommendation from the committee. So let's talk about the record of this infrastructure bank that the Liberals have been championing. It's projected to lose money every single year, Madam Speaker. It hasn't completed a single project, and according to Statistics Canada's definition of private sector investment, it has attracted no private sector investment. That is a pretty clear indictment of the immense failure that we've seen at this so-called infrastructure bank that has not completed any infrastructure projects. Only this Prime Minister could lose money running a bank, Madam Speaker. Reverse Midas touch. Indeed, and we could talk about ethics in government. We could talk about our economic situation. We could talk about our foreign policy reputation. We could talk about the situation of crime, of drugs and disorder. It's clear that this Prime Minister has a whopping, massive record of failures, of not delivering on the things that Canadians want, and this is why more and more Canadians are responding to the call for a common sense plan. After 8 years, people have had enough of the NDP Liberal government's record of failures. They're looking for a common sense conservative alternative, one that will put the interests and the well-being of Canadians first. Yes, their homes, their jobs, their paychecks, their well-being. Now, Madam Speaker, I wanted to address one specific aspect of the Canada Infrastructure Bank, and that is the close relationship between this government and McKinsey, and how that relationship was part of the story of the creation of this so-called bank. So it's been clear from the beginning that this government has a close and cozy relationship with the consulting company McKinsey. McKinsey has gotten over $100 million of contracts from the government. While the public service has grown, there's been a significant expansion in outsourcing, and McKinsey has been a big part of that. This government has a close relationship with McKinsey in spite of the role that McKinsey played advising Purdue Pharma on how to fuel the opioid crisis, in spite of the fact that McKinsey advised the Saudi government, giving them information about dissidents, and that information leading to the subsequent targeting of these dissidents. And we've spoken in the House before at great length about the, frankly, innumerable ethical and moral failures of McKinsey. But what happened in this context in particular is that Dominic Barton, who was the former managing partner at McKinsey, was an advisor to the government. He led something called the Growth Council, the Prime Minister's Growth Council, at the same time as McKinsey was pitching its products to the government. So according to his testimony, he wasn't directly involved in the pitching process, but one of the people that was working within McKinsey was involved in supplying analysts for Canada's Growth Council at the same time as that person was involved in pitching to the government for Government of Canada contracts and business. And they were quite successful in getting this business from the government. So this was an instance of a cozy relationship between a consulting firm and the government, and a situation in which that consulting firm was able to do a great deal of business. Dominic Barton was subsequently made ambassador to China, and he was asked by a member of the government at I believe it was the previous meeting of the Transport Committee about the question was, as ambassador, did you misuse your position to lobby for business somehow for a company with which you were no longer associated and for which you didn't profit? And Dominic Barton replied, there were extremely strict rules and protocols put in place. Basically, it was excommunicado. There were very strict processes and protocols followed. If anything ever came in, it went to the deputy head of mission or the deputy. That was a very interesting claim. A claim subsequently contradicted, though, by emails that were made public that revealed, in fact, something quite different. That there was discussion specifically about and I'm trying to find the emails in front of me, but I'll get to them if people want the specific citations during questions and comments. But subsequently, there was an email exchange, and we probed this issue at another meeting of the Transport Committee, because what happened is that the email exchange was specifically looking at the availability of Mr. Barton while he was the ambassador to China to participate in a call related to the Canadian Infrastructure Bank. And it was evident from those emails that there were conversations about the infrastructure bank that, in fact, Dominic Barton was involved in, and so conservatives sought to hold these Dominic Barton accountable for this at committee and ask, how is it that you were no longer with McKinsey ostensibly, but you had these close relationships with all these folks who worked for McKinsey, many people who had worked for McKinsey ending up in influential roles within the infrastructure bank, and that you, as ambassador to China working for the government, were still involved in these kinds of calls. In fact, at one point, it was referenced in one of those emails that, well, this was a very sensitive matter. And Madam Speaker, no surprise it was a sensitive matter. It's a very sensitive matter because people didn't want it to come out that there was this very close relationship between the government and McKinsey. And I believe that the closeness of that relationship played a significant role in the creation of this infrastructure bank, an infrastructure bank that subsequently engaged many people who were or had previously worked for McKinsey. So it was very, very beneficial for McKinsey. McKinsey did well out of this, but it was not beneficial for Canadians to have a so-called infrastructure bank in the end that is losing money every year, hasn't completed a single project, and has attracted no private sector investment. The so-called infrastructure bank is delivering for Liberal insiders. It delivered for McKinsey, but it's not delivering for Canadians. And we can talk about the many failures of this government to deliver results for Canadians, but I think what's underlining that failure to deliver results for Canadians is that they are working hard to deliver for someone else. That is, that are working hard to deliver for well-connected insiders. And while I'm on my feet, I should mention that today at the Government Operations Committee, we have hearings on another important ongoing Liberal scandal. This is the Arrive scam issue. $54 million were spent on an app that was really glitchy, that didn't work properly, and you had well-connected middlemen who did no IT work, who were collecting a significant amount of money, over $11 million, simply to receive and then subcontract that work out. Again, I can tell you Conservatives are going to be fighting to get to the bottom of what happened with the Arrive scam. We've seen in the news today new information that there were more contracts, another $9 million contract that was given to GC Strategies. These well-connected Liberal insiders have been cashing in, it seems now, on multiple contracts. Again, the Liberals and the Liberal NDP government in general are trying to assist well-connected insiders, but they're failing to deliver for Canadians. We need a new government, a common-sense alternative that will actually stand up for the best interests of the Canadian people.